The fantasy movie begins in 1200 BC, specifically in southern Greece. We see King Vitrion going with his army to fight King Argus, even though Argus is originally his ally. But Vitrion's greed and avarice lead him to betray him and besiege his palace. King Argus agrees to face him, but Vitrion's power is far greater, which of course causes Argus to be easily defeated. When Vitrion returns to his palace, his wife the queen is very upset with him because he has become greedy and prefers to plunder the possessions of other peoples. Anyway, he silences her, and the night passes. We also learn that Vitrion had actually married this wife by force, and that she is unhappy with him, and he has fathered a child with her, named Aphelix. Afterwards, the queen goes to the temple with her assistant Cheros. She looks at the statues of the gods and keeps begging them to help her save her people from the injustice of her husband, the king. Indeed, the Lord of Lightning hears her plea. He sends Hera to her, who tells her, "I agree to grant your request, but on the condition that you bear a child from the Lord of Lightning, Zeus. This child will be the reason for your kingdom's salvation from the tyranny of King Vitrion." She informs her that the child will be known as Herkles, even if the queen wishes to name him something else. Indeed, the queen becomes pregnant and gives birth to a child, naming him Alcides, who is of course the same person as Herkles. The king knows that this child is not his son, so he accuses the queen of betrayal and makes it known to her from his birthday that he, Alcides, will not hold the same status as his firstborn son. 20 years pass, and we see Alcides riding his horse with Princess Hebe, the daughter of their allied king. Alcides possesses strength not found in anyone else in the kingdom. They arrive at the lake, go for a swim, and it's clear they love each other. Aphelix, Alcides' brother, arrives and tells them that the king is now looking for his daughter. We learn that Aphelix is very jealous of Alcides because he himself loves Hebe deeply. We also learn that he is weak and cowardly. Afterwards, Hebe leaves with the guards, and we learn that there is a feast tonight at the king's palace, which the king and his daughter Hebe will attend. Alcides and his brother walk towards the palace, and at that moment, they encounter a ferocious lion. Both are forced to face it. Alcides does the job, killing the lion and even breaking its neck. Amidst all this, Aphelix cannot even move from his spot, because as we know, he is very cowardly. But what happens in the palace is completely unexpected. Alcides and Aphelix enter the hall where the feast guests are. Aphelix moves forward carrying the lion, boasting to them, claiming that he killed the lion. Strangely, Alcides doesn't try to clarify the truth. But of course Hebe and his mother the queen know that he is the one who killed the lion because he is much stronger than his cowardly brother. After a while, King Vitrion speaks and asks for the hand of Princess Hebe for his son Aphelix. This shocks everyone, first and foremost Hebe, who is upset and quickly runs out of the kingdom. Then King Vitrion speaks with Aphelix, very upset with his behavior because he keeps boasting about killing the lion and trying to create a false aura of prestige for himself, so that everyone respects him, especially his future wife, who has just insulted them all by fleeing the kingdom. We then go to Alcides, who manages to stop Hebe. He promises her he will never let her go to anyone else. They agree to escape together that night. They head towards the river, but unfortunately soldiers catch up to them. Alcides asks her to run towards the river while he tries to delay them. He does so, but when he sees her fall into the river with her horse, he quickly runs and jumps in after her to save her. But unfortunately, when they get out of the water, all the soldiers have them surrounded. Back at the palace, we see the king talking with the army commander Max and orders him to travel to Heliopolis tomorrow with his soldiers, and he must put an end to the revolts happening there. But he stipulates that he will only go with 80 soldiers. At that moment, Alcides enters the palace hall and faces his father, who orders him to travel tomorrow with Max to Heliopolis and demands that he apologize to his brother for fleeing with his future wife. But Alcides refuses to apologize. Aphelix then confronts him and threatens that if he returns safely from this war, his death will be by Aphelix's hand. Afterwards, the queen tries to console Alcides and makes him understand that his existence in this life is connected to an event much greater than what's in his mind. She tells him, "Your name is Herkles, and you are the son of Zeus, the Lord of Lightning." But Alcides is not convinced by her words at all. The next day, as Alcides marches with the army, Hebe calls out to him, very sad. He promises her in front of the entire kingdom that he will return to her quickly, and that his return will be within 3 months before her marriage to his brother takes place. Then begins the army's journey heading to Heliopolis. They go and board their ship, but Commander Max is worried, telling Acides that the number of soldiers and supplies is unfortunately not enough for the battle ahead. They then move through the desert, sending 2 scouts to explore the surrounding area. Max decides they will stay overnight in a nearby cave, but as soon as they enter the cave, they are shocked to find the 2 scouts dead. They quickly try to go back, but discover that the remaining soldiers waiting for them at the cave entrance have also been killed. Suddenly, an enemy army led by Commander Tariq attacks them. They learn then that King Vitrion himself had sold them out to get rid of Acides forever, along with the rest of the soldiers. In the battle, the number of soldiers with Acides and Max is very small, no more than 10. They fight honorably, but unfortunately do not succeed. In the end, only Acides and Max remain. Tariq asks Max, "Where is the prince among you?" Max points to a dead soldier beside him, deceiving him, and says the prince is dead. He said this so Tariq wouldn't kill Acides. Tariq decides not to kill them, but to sell them in the slave market. From that moment on, Acides begins to go by the name Herkles. Afterwards, Tariq sends news of the prince's death to King Vitrion. A grand funeral is held in the kingdom, and of course, the queen and Hebe are devastated by the death of Prince Acides. We then see Max and Herkles being branded with slave marks. Max can't believe it because the king himself wanted to get rid of his own son. But Herkles doesn't dwell on his words, understanding they must return to Greece quickly so he can marry Hebe. Max also has a family he wants to return to, so they both decide to help each other. We see them later traveling on an old ship. In the kingdom, we see Aphelix talking to his mother, asking, "How can I win Hebe's heart like my father once won yours?" The queen brokenly tells him she was never happy with his father, and unfortunately, Hebe will live the same tragedy she lived if she marries him. We then go back to Herkles and Max, learning that the man who bought them exploits slaves in wrestling arenas, making money from people's bets. Max enters first to fight a gladiator and defeats him, but with extreme difficulty, which greatly frustrates him. Then Herkles enters to fight another, but Herkles is very strong and kills him with ease, winning his owner lots of money and gaining admiration from everyone. At the same time, the queen meets her husband at the Temple of the Gods and finally confesses to him the identity of Acides' father. She tells him that he is the son of Zeus, the Lord of Lightning, and that he exists in this world to save people from his tyranny. She then draws a dagger and tries to kill him, but he grabs it from her and stabs her with it, killing her. At that moment, Cheros sees what happened. The king threatens him that if anyone asks what happened, he must say the queen died from grief over her son. Back to Herkles and Max, who are in a slave cage. They decide to deceive their master. They tell him they want to go to Greece because wrestling there is at the highest level, much more profitable, and the king himself is present among the spectators. Their master agrees to the idea, telling them he will organize a huge wrestling arena where the best fighters will kill each other, and whoever wins will take them to Greece. Indeed, we see them entering the battlefield, with all fighters killing each other simultaneously in an arena filled with high rocks. The fight begins, and unfortunately Max gets injured in his leg. Herkles quickly helps him, killing the fighters they were facing. This makes the whole crowd cheer for him, but their owner is very upset with Herkles because he killed 2 fighters, and Max is injured and won't be able to fight or be useful if taken to Greece. Herkles then tells him he can kill them all by himself. When they travel to Greece, Max goes to meet Cheros and tells him he survived the king's plot, and the person who saved him is named Herkles. Cheros then understands that Prince Acides is still alive. In the Greek arena, we see Herkles entering before a crowd chanting his name, with rumors spreading throughout the land that he is the son of Zeus. He faces 6 fighters. Before the battle begins, Max, Cheros, and the army commander arrive atop a hill. Max gestures towards the prince, indicating that he now needs their support to overthrow the king and his son. The army commander tells him that the entire battalion is with him. Herkles then begins fighting the 6 fighters almost simultaneously, and with his speed and agility, he defeats them all. Afterwards, they take him to meet Cheros and the army commander. Herkles is overjoyed to see them, but they tell him the army's situation is currently very bad due to the king and Aphelix's horrific actions, as well as their theft of the people's money. Then Cheros tells him his mother is dead and gives him the dagger she was killed with. Herkles is deeply saddened by the truth. He decides to avenge her. He then walks through the kingdom in complete disguise, witnessing the injustice the soldiers are inflicting upon the people. He confronts the soldiers, ties them to their horses, and sends them with a message to the king. At the same time, news reaches the king that rebels are everywhere. He also learns that Max is alive and has a very strong man with him named Herkles, and that they are both inciting the people to revolt. Therefore, the king summons all his allies for help. Max takes Herkles to a hut in the forest to hide him. A woman named Hera is waiting for him there, the same one the Lord of Lightning had sent to the queen 20 years ago. Hera introduces herself and tells him, "I am the one who named you Herkles, and you must accept your true father. He will grant you immense power beyond your imagination." But Herkles is very angry with his father for leaving him to suffer all this time without ever helping him. However, Hera tells him that his existence in the world was for a much greater purpose, to help all the people around him. Later, we see Afflex going to Hebe at night, harshly demanding that she love and accept him, because their wedding is supposed to be in 2 nights. But Hebe tells him with deep sorrow that she will never be able to love him. Finding no way out, she goes to the palace rooftop and attempts to throw herself off. But Cheros catches her at the last moment, giving her hope for life. The next day, he takes her to Herkles' place in the forest. She can hardly believe her eyes with joy when she sees him. Meanwhile, the king summons Commander Tariq and argues with him because he deceived him by saying Max and his army had died. Tariq replies that he will rectify his mistake. We return to Max, who goes to his family overjoyed, but is shocked to find his wife has died. Suddenly, he sees soldiers and Prince Afflex inside his house, holding a knife to his son's throat. The prince threatens him. If he doesn't reveal Herkles' location, he will kill his son. Max is forced to lead them to him. Felix and the soldiers attack the hut where Herkles is hiding. Felix is shocked to discover that Herkles is actually his own brother. The prince orders the soldiers to execute all the army members with him and to take Max and Herkles captive. Herkles is tied up in the square before the kingdom and the people and brutally whipped. The king comes and mocks him in front of everyone, saying he claims to be the son of Zeus. Yet the proof is that Zeus has left him to suffer like this. At the same moment, soldiers bring Max and Cheros in chains. The king orders his son Afflex to kill all 3. Herkles tries to beg his brother not to do it, but he doesn't listen. Tragically, he kills Cheros before his eyes. When it's Max's turn, Herkles breaks down, screaming and calling out to his father Zeus for help. Suddenly, a power comes from the sky, enabling him to shatter the stones binding him, and all the soldiers in the square are killed. The king and his son flee in terror, and all the people cheer and support him for what he has done. Afterwards, Herkles meets all the people and addresses them, telling them not to kill the king and his son tonight, and that starting tomorrow, a new era of peace will begin. He, the army, and the rest of the people move towards the kingdom. Upon reaching the gate, a fierce battle erupts between them and the king's soldiers. Soldiers atop the protective wall, who had been firing arrows at the king's army, declare their support for Herkles. Herkles then enters the kingdom with the remaining army and demands that the king face him, but the king refuses and orders his army to finish him off. At that moment, Zeus bestows the power of lightning upon his son's sword, enabling Herkles to eliminate all the king's soldiers with a single swipe. Herkles then enters the palace hall and begins to duel King Vitrion. Unfortunately, the king's power is immense, but in the end, Herkles overcomes him and is about to kill him. But Felix appears, holding a dagger to Princess Hebe's throat, threatening to kill his beloved Hebe if he finishes off his father. Hebe sacrifices herself to save the kingdom, stabbing herself with the dagger in front of Herkles. Part of the dagger pierces Felix's heart, killing him. This drives Herkles into a mad rage. He attacks his father and kills him with the same dagger his mother was killed with. He quickly goes to Hebe, who is still alive. The joyful part of the story is that Hebe does not die. On the contrary, she lives and marries Herkles. Now Herkles is the new king of his kingdom, and he also fathers an heir to succeed him. The movie ends.